So, my name is Christel Broady, like I said. Why educators, schools, universities, and yes, also ministries of education should care about Education 4.0. So, first I want to say we may not be replaced by AI, but we will definitely be replaced by somebody who uses it. And this is kind of summing up the whole reason why I wanted to speak about this topic today. And I hope you get some learning experiences from it. So I want to first talk a little bit about the history and cultural and economic impacts on education, the effect of the pandemic on education, where we are now, where we need to be. And then I would like to close with a charge to all of you to seek a different direction in education. So first of all, education since the early days has been in the same way where somebody talks, other people listen. Sometimes we have smaller groups and tutors, sometimes we have larger groups. And I really get completely tickled by seeing pictures like where students misbehave in the old days on the pictures already, which is kind of cute. So then eventually we were still teaching this way, and we're going through all the different evolutions and revolutions, and we're getting to the technical revolution, which increased productivity and efficiency incredibly. And it's not for the factories alone, it's also for all kinds of other societal issues that this makes a difference. The technical revolution significantly changed the material conditions of human existence and reshaped culture immensely. I come from a region in Germany where, factories were built and machines were built, and people that before were laborers in the fields all of a sudden had a work life as blue-collar workers, and reshaped their future and had a better life. Here is a little infograph about Industry 1.0, 1.0, mechanization, steam power, weaving looms. That was kind of the first development. And then Industry 2.0, mass production, assembly lines, electrical energy. That was when the first cars were built, like for large numbers of people. Assembly lines were making it easier to push out many products in a very short time. And then Industry 3.0 included automatization, computers, electronics, and a lot of us were and are still in this. But then we're moving to Industry 4.0, where we're dealing with cyber physics systems, Internet of all things networks, AI, and we're in a whole different world. But still, even though we're transitioning from Industry 3.0 and Industry 4.0, a lot of schools still look like this. Then the pandemic hit all of us, and everybody was scrambling and trying to figure out how to use technology. And in many cases, the households were not prepared for it. For several kids to use the computer, there was often not enough bandwidth. But most importantly, the teachers didn't know how to use technology effectively for delivering the instruction that they were so used to delivering and curriculum. Therefore, we are worldwide seeing a huge learning gap for students that were impacted by the pandemic learning. So then, there's this really, really neat phrase, idiom in America, which is called throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing if something sticks. And that would pretty much describe what we did during the COVID pandemic, because people were scrambling and sending messages out. Do you know any technology tool? Do you know any platform that is cool? And people were going totally crazy by trying out 100 different tools, and nobody knew exactly how to use them, and some of them had to be paid for, and students couldn't keep up with all the passwords they had for all of this, and it was just a huge mess. And then COVID left, we were post-pandemic, and yet we're still teaching in pretty much the same way. We have, even though we have more technology that is being used, like Google Chromebooks and so forth, but it's not changing the, in a big way, the classroom setup or so forth, we still haven't changed to project-based learning in a big way, or to have maker classrooms and such. We're still using technology, kind of like instead of using a notebook, we're using a Chromebook to write on that, but that's pretty much the extent of things in many cases. Students and teachers, however, began to use technology in fundamental ways from the beginning with the pandemic and Education 2.0. This is why in America, a lot of schools bought Chromebooks for classrooms, that every kid got a Chromebook. And, there was a hope that it would make some changes in education, how it was being delivered and perceived. But honestly, it did not. It's still being used as a glorified notebook in many cases. So when Education 3.0 emerged and technology advanced, there was a widespread adoption of more user-generated internet. So education became more networkable, students having their own direct link to a range of different knowledge sources. And it's not a back and forth between students and teachers, but now there was opportunity for real collaboration between students and other students, and using Google Drive, such things as Google Drive, Kahoot, other tools for creating collaborative spaces. What students are not stupid, and they immediately figured out that they can use all these creative, networkable and social media tools to enhance their social life. Of course, some people would debate the enhancement part, but kids immediately began to make videos, put art out there, have a different writing style where they don't follow any grammar rules anymore, and shorten their words to letters like LOL. And that all that stuff started during that time, when students were able to use the internet. Smart technology, artificial intelligence, and robotics are now part of the fourth industrial revolution, and they're affecting our daily lives. The interesting thing is that even though students and teachers both use technology a lot in their lives for anything ranging from banking services, shopping, there's no limit, sharing pictures, making pictures, modifying pictures, editing them, whatever. In fact, creating an entire alternate personality online, if you will, especially the kids do that. And interestingly, it blows my mind that neither teachers nor students are really able to use technology for learning in fundamental ways. Like when I remember when flipped learning was introduced, it was done so wrong by almost everybody, and did not meet the criteria for the excellent opportunities that flipped learning offers, especially for modifications for students that need a little bit more extra help. But we still use technology mostly in a very fundamental way for social media purposes. But like I said, students now can access their own information resources, have the ability to learn electronically, and platforms to communicate. And that brings with it a huge deal of a problem, because they may not view teachers as a source of their knowledge anymore, because on their fingertips, they can use Google search, and they find more information there than any teacher can have ever learned in their whole life. And then the question then becomes, what function does the teacher have if we're not the source of knowledge anymore? And how do we make ourselves relevant and intentional in our role to the students? And then, to make matters even more complicated, AI and chatbots had hit the field. And what did we hear? oh my gosh, how can I prevent my students from using AI? I don't want my students to use it. And everybody was discussing that, schools, universities, and that was the biggest topic. And again, it was exactly like before COVID, when teachers told me in presentations when I presented at TESOL and internationally, they said, I don't have time to deal with technology. I cannot learn all that stuff. And now they learned stuff because of the pandemic, and now they're saying, well, I don't know how to use AI for my teaching, so students cannot cheat with it. It just means that teachers have to create assessments and prompts that they can recognize the student's voice in. And there are a lot of different ways of using AI that's not cheatable, and there are even AI chatbots out there that create prompts and tasks that are not cheatable with AI. But that's a totally different presentation. But that's kind of what I'm hearing right now in the field. So the question is, what comes next? And here we are. I already discussed the the first, second, third, and fourth generation of industrial revolution. And why am I bringing up business and industry all the time? Well, because my proposal is based on the needs of industry and business, the information revolution, that we need to provide employees for that are trained to actually have these careers that we needed. And then there's this blockchain issue, data, intelligence, and all that stuff. So how do teachers know about this? How are they trained in all of this? How are they And if we are not prepared as teachers, how can we prepare students for the careers that we don't even know what they will be in the future? Because this life is going to be very, very, very different. Every computational task will be taken over by artificial intelligence. There are artificial intelligence doctor office programs that can diagnose diseases so much better than a real doctor can. So I'm not saying that we can replace everything with AI, but there's a lot that can be replaced. So Education 4.0 then is a response to Industry 4.0, is a way of learning that's connected with the fourth industrial revolution, and it focuses on transforming education to meet the needs of advanced technology and automation. So Education 4.0, according to the World Economic Forum, requires a new learning taxonomy that has a comprehensive set of skills, attitudes, and values to be well prepared for the future. And there are a lot of resources. I'm giving you a bunch of resources. You can look this up more. But we absolutely have to reimagine education, the role of the teacher, the role of the learner, the role of materials, the role of the physical classroom, and the role of methodology and everything in our learning space. So, education components of 4.0: constructivism and constructive criticism, and that requires students to think outside of the box and think in constructive ways about different angles of a problem, or talk with other people and discuss constructively how to solve a problem. Personalized education is so important. We are able to deliver personalized education already, but we're still having this whole room approach. We need to prepare students for evolving industries, and we need to expect that all automated basic administrative tasks will be done by machines. And we need to make sure that all pupils in the world have access to Education 4.0. There have been several adjustments in terms of talents and tasks. As a result, human capital will play a large role in the workplace. So it's not the case that humans are not needed anymore. Quite the contrary, they are very much needed. But we cannot put out employees and learners that are unreflected, don't have global awareness, cannot work with people of diverse backgrounds, and most importantly, have critical thinking skills. Employees in industries and organizations are all affected by the new technology. Specialized, and this is really important, specialized skills and human activities for Industry 4.0 may differ on the sector. The charge for the world of the fourth industrial revolution is to prepare students for a new world like this. So this is already where we are right now, according to Goldman Sachs. What jobs can be replaced by AI? So office administrative assistants and so forth, but here is interesting. Building and ground cleaning is really hard to replace. Installation, maintenance, repair is really difficult. Construction, extraction is very hard to replace. And there you see it's the manual labor where people need to do something that may require them to think differently, depending on what the soil looks like. They have to rethink and get different tools. That's really difficult to do with AI, but healthcare, that's going down. And let's look where all industries, yes, and sales, my gosh, they can be replaced very much. Personal care services like hairdressers, nail salons, and so forth, they are pretty difficult to replace. Educational instruction and library is pretty much where healthcare is. You can replace a lot with AI, and that's a whole different presentation. And I teach a lot how to use AI in education, and you can invite me for another presentation on that. And I give you examples for lesson planning, differentiation, for all kinds of stuff, how to use AI for that. So we can outsource all the legwork of things that are unpleasant in paperwork to AI, so we have time to deal with it. Was really coming up with valuable and good instruction and differentiation, personalization for our students. And I would love to be invited to speak about that topic another time. Education must prepare students for a world in which cyber-physical systems are ubiquitous across all industries if we want to produce successful graduates. So new curriculum and methodologies must incorporate technology in the curriculum. That's an essential thing. This is like, you cannot say that you're using PowerPoint and you're using technology. No, PowerPoint is like a glorified overhead projector. Or you cannot say you're using Chromebooks for students to write essays on. That's also not using technology innovatively. We need to actually alter the learning process entirely and leverage technology to enhance the education experience. And that goes back to the individualization for students that have different needs, so we can meet them where they are. Education 4.0 represents a set of work focused on transforming education. It is based on a framework developed by leading experts, practitioners, and employers that outline 8 transformations for learning, content, and delivery. And so there's like a lot of resources and piloting and schools that can be looked at, that already do this. The framework codified in Schools of the Future, defining new models of education for the fourth industrial revolution, showcases examples of schools, school systems, and education programs that are pioneering the way toward Education 4.0 skills and learning experiences. So this already exists and this already happens. So we can look at stuff. To operationalize Education 4.0 and enable all children to have access to transformative learning, this set of work includes 3 key mechanics. An alignment of skills. The education taxonomy proposes key definitions, is informed by employers, and provides a common foundation for discussing the best practices. Now, again, I want to point out that we're looking at a very, very, very strong and close symbiosis between employers and education that needs to drive what we do in education so the students are ready to be employed. They are showcasing examples by Education 4.0 Lighthouse, where they show examples of public-private collaboration that we can already look at. There's pilots by country level. Global networks exist. And I did for the presentation tonight some cursory lit review. I went into research studies and publications that talked about 4.0, and what stood out to me was that most of the publications were written by authors from countries outside of the US and Canada, and also my country of Germany. They were, a lot of them were in Asia, the Middle East, and that really surprised me. Africa, I didn't see represented in my quick review that I did over the day today. But I pulled out the main words from their titles and created a word cloud. And if you look at this, education is completely in the middle. But what are some other words that are multiple times appear? Industry, higher learning, competencies, technologies, digital, thinking, teacher intelligence, technology, personalized, change. And then also some articles talked about a divide, a gender divide between male and female. Factories, attitudes, spaces, globalization, hybrid methodology, and so forth. So I did this before I go into the 8 components necessary for transformations. And I want you to keep the words in mind that I just mentioned and kind of align them in your mind with what I talk about now. For learning, there are 8 transformations for learning content and delivery education to prepare the next generation. So here's the first content block: global citizenship skills, to include content that focuses on building awareness about the wider world, sustainability, and playing an active role in the global community. Number 2, innovation and creative skills. Again, we're talking about more content here, right? And this is where I was really hoping to get some people from ministries of education to listen to me, because our instruction is driven by standards that are mostly set by our states or ministries of education. So as long as those standards don't change, we cannot work towards 4.0. And so these ones talk about content that that just needs to be reflected and mirrored in what teachers are required to teach, or it will not trickle down to schools, right? And it also needs to be reflected in teacher education, which is what I do, that our teachers receive the skills they so desperately need right now. So we have to teach content for innovation and creativity skills that foster skills required for innovation, including complex problem solving, analytical thinking, creativity, and system analyses. So again, we're looking at design thinking, system analyses, and I would say a lot of this is not really reflected in how we teach and learn today. Another content area clearly is technology, based on developing digital skills, including programming, digital responsibility, and the use of technology. And again, let's think about these positions here. Responsibility in the digital world is something that we barely, if at all, teach in schools, right? Not just because we can do things, should we do them? Another area of content is interpersonal skills, or what oftentimes in the Wall Street Journal is called soft skills. Content that focuses on interpersonal emotional intelligence, empathy, cooperation, negotiation, leadership, and social awareness. And I would say in many countries, we're really lacking on these areas right now, as we can see in, in the news. But this is a very difficult area, and I would say emotional intelligence has never been as bad as it is today in American schools, in my observation. So then let's go from content to experiences, innovative pedagogies, high leverage practices, personalized and self-paced learning, from a system where learning is standardized to one based on the diverse individual needs of the learners and flexible enough to enable each learner to progress at their own pace. Currently, in America, we focus a lot on what is not right with the student, what they do not learn, because all of our standardized testing is laid out that way to tell you what you're not doing well and to build on that and become better. How about we change that around and say, what is your personal strongest skill that you have? Let's find that and let's build that up and, give you everything that you can learn to be absolutely fantastic in that area, instead of looking at what's wrong with you, what are you missing, and getting kids the a low self-efficacy with those test results. Accessibility and inclusive learning is one of the experiences that are really important. From a system where learning is confined to those with access to school buildings to one in which everyone has access to learning and is inclusive. So that also includes people with different learner needs, special education, students that don't speak the language of the country in which they go to school, and everybody who sometimes is overlooked in these big classrooms that we have today, that we're giving them that space that they can learn in their own way. And we tried that a little bit in flipped learning, but that never really took off very much. Another experience is problem-based and collaborative learning. And I know that that Ron Moraine talks a lot about that in his blogs and social media postings, and is a huge proponent of this, and so am I. Presented on this for many years. Collaborative learning and constructivism are essential for going from process-based to project and problem-based learning to content delivery, requiring peer collaboration and more closely mirroring the future of work. This is where it happens, right? Problem-based content. And this is where maker spaces are coming in, right? Where students can solve problems in maker spaces. And in experiences, also lifelong and student-driven learning. From a system where learning and skilling decrease over one's lifespan to one where everybody continuously improves existing skills and acquires new ones based on their individual needs or the needs of the market. So we need to completely approach learning and schooling as telling the students, you're not going to be done. You're not going to be done when you graduate from high school, and you're not going to be done when you graduate from university, if you go to university. But this learning thing is going to be required of you until you die, really. So how can a country start Education 4.0? First, they need to have innovative public-private-led approaches to developing what the skills are needed for this country. They need to incentivize the adoption of Education 4.0 skills in P20. So there needs to be something trickling down from the top, from the ministries of education, from the departments of education, working with industry. And we have not really been doing that very much, So what does the industry need in education? And we cannot flip-flop around all the time to address any little whim of a need they have. But if we go with the generic skills that I just mentioned, they should be adaptable to industries as they are needed. We need to align the key skills education offers and co-create a public narrative around the importance of incorporating them in learning. So the key concepts that I want to drive home here is collaboration, schools as maker spaces, across countries and cultures, and have incubator as pilot programs where other people and other organizations can see how things are being done, and how they can build something too. I don't suggest that everybody should jump into this feed first, but that this is done intentionally, intelligently, with looking at the research and looking at existing programs that are already published about. I saw really cool stuff in India. I saw stuff in the Philippines. So why not looking at our friends across in other countries and see what they did and how they did it and how it worked? In summary, I urge everybody to seek immediate action. If you're a teacher, learn new skills. Think about how you can individualize learning. Leverage the power that artificial intelligence gives you to free yourself up of legwork that takes up so much of your time, and use that free time for being innovative in your instruction using problem-based learning, project-based learning, having groupings with different levels for students with different needs. Think outside of the box, step out of your silos. And let's look at what private and schools are doing and see how we can come together and see if we can get some monies from them, from the private sector, to fund some of these innovative maker spaces, particularly technology. We really, really need to rethink teacher education and how we do PDs. PDs, again, it's another one of those things where we throw spaghetti against the wall. Since COVID, there have been so many mediocre online trainings offered across the world that I can pull my hair out. And professional organizations have not really gotten on the bandwagon yet. And we thought how they can redefine how to do research, how to publish it, and how they can do their part on training teachers differently from the earlier days, leveraging technology, developing new high leverage practices. We really, really need to rethink our teaching standards and teacher education standards. Folks, what we have right now is not going to work for the future. And 4.0 is here. Industry 4.0 is already here. Big data is already here. So we need to get on it, okay? And we completely need to rethink schools, schoolrooms, classrooms. How can we break that up and make them into spaces where things are happening and where students are not expecting to be sitting in a chair for 8 hours and be talked at by somebody, but that they are taking the driver's seat in their own learning, and us using constructivism to do that. So here is a QR code leading you to my business card, where you find the information to get in touch with me. So you're welcome to use that. And the following pages are a bunch of, like I said, I did this cursory lit review today where I pulled out a bunch of stuff and I highlighted the titles here. And you can see how much is published by people in other countries other than the US, and probably discover some of your country's names in there, possibly. So here are some resources for you. And some of my information that I gave you about the skills and the instruction and content are from the World Economic Forum that you find here. And then also for the last few days, I grabbed some additional reading links, tried to look at current stuff that, that's out there. So here we have some more stuff that you can look up online, for different areas. I only found one publication on talking about how 4.0 brings the necessity to rethink how we teach English. Yes, so this is my presentation, and I really hope that you can see this urgency that I impress on everybody. I cannot overstate how important it is that we have these dialogues, and they really need to start all the way on the top in countries. Um, how how do we want to meet the employability of the future? I mean, we can already print houses with 3D printers. We can make all kinds of stuff with technology, you know. So where do we think our people will work? Would they all be house cleaners and um, groundkeepers and so forth, or do we want them to have actually, you know, engineering kind of jobs or design thinking jobs? Because we need those kind of jobs in every single industry and area of where people work, right? So my challenge to you is think about this. Let's talk more about this. I urge you, and have more conferences that invite people to brainstorm across national levels, nations, how we can leverage education and create practices and high leverage practices that allow our students to be employable in the future, and also to be with it, you know, I mean, the with itness, and have the emotional intelligence that it takes to be a good global citizen and a good steward of the earth and a good steward of what was given to us by former generations. So if you want to invite me to talk about AI and making your life easier and use your time for differentiation, you can invite me to talk about that, because it's also something I teach about in my courses, and I would love to share what I know with anybody who would like to learn about it. And yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for your time and your attention. And I hope that you have a wonderful conference. I feel so very honored that you considered inviting me, and I look forward to hearing some feedback from some of you that may contact me. And I'm always curious to hear from you, from the audience, what you think. And yeah, have a wonderful conference.